Now, proofreading and editing are a massive part of producing a successful book, especially nowadays when people are pretty quick to judge, review, and call out a manuscript on social media. Now, a self-published author might not have access to professional proofreading and editing. Not everybody has $4,000 to drop on an editor. Now, while professional editing is ideal, it's not always feasible depending on your bankroll. I'm Mike with WriterSanctuary, and today I'm going to go over 5 things I do to edit and proofread my manuscript, even though there's nothing in the bank. Now, technically, an author should never really edit their own manuscript. That's because it's incredibly easy to gloss over painfully obvious things that you know that are incorrect after the fact. But like I said, not everybody has the money to have their manuscript edited correctly. So how do I go about editing my own books? For one thing, I'm a professional editor. That's what most of my clients hire me to do nowadays, where I go through and polish up other writers' stuff. This is on top of writing content every once in a while, but most of the work I do nowadays is editing other writers. Now, does this mean that it's going to be perfect? Absolutely not. In fact, there's a lot of times where I'll go back and find things in my manuscript from days ago that were painfully obvious. No author, blogger, or freelancer is going to be perfect. Secondly, I use Grammarly. More specifically, I use the Grammarly Chrome extension. Recently, I've been using Readsy quite a bit to write my stories, and Grammarly works perfectly in it since it's a web-based application. And the Chrome extension will scan through my content and fix glaringly incorrect spellings of words and give me a few pointers as to what I should fix in the content. Grammarly catches quite a few of the more obvious issues, and it has saved me quite a bit of time. Now, if you use a writing app that is not web-based, kind of like Scrivener, then you can always copy and paste it into Grammarly's into a free account at Grammarly. Then you can make your adjustments and copy and paste it back into Scrivener, or whatever writing app you decide to use. And some writing apps out there actually have the capacity to use Grammarly as an install like an extension. The bottom line is that there's all kinds of automated platforms out there that'll help you edit and proofread your work. I use Grammarly. There's also Pro Writing Aid. It really comes down to personal preference and what works best for you. Just bear in mind that no automated system is 100% accurate. On the same note, neither are human editors. There are times where I will make a mistake on an article that one of my clients' writers have submitted that I'll catch maybe about a week later. No one and no thing is 100% accurate. Next, I often read the manuscript out loud. I can't tell you the number of times that I've caught some of the more stupid errors from just reading it out loud. Now, these are things that I missed, my friend missed, and Grammarly missed. Now, the part of this is because your brain has to essentially translate it from reading to speech, and you're going to catch all kinds of, even the smallest errors. It's kind of like having an additional filter. Usually I'll read my manuscripts kind of like what I do for the audiobook for Despair, where I'll even sometimes, and I laugh, I'll use the same voice when I'm reading through like my books as I do for Despair. My point is that reading it out loud helps tremendously. Another thing that helps me edit my books is using my beta readers. Now, normally the beta readers will pick up all the stuff that make no grammatical sense. Usually Grammarly picks up all the misspellings, so I don't get too many dings from my beta readers for misspelled words. But it doesn't always catch all the grammatical errors, and so some of the beta readers will point it out. And normally a beta reader is just to help you fix the flow of story. They're not necessarily editing or proofreading. They just want to make sure that the story comes out right. But some of them will point out some issues, and to me that's awesome. That's kind of a bonus. But never underestimate the value of a beta reader, especially when you're self-publishing. The story can take on a completely different direction than what it was in the first draft. If you get some valuable insight from a target audience, it just makes for a stronger story. Something else you want to consider is having a friend read over your book. Using platforms like Google Docs lets you collaborate quite easily in real time, and the back and forth between you and your editor friend is great, especially if your friend has a history of reading or editing themselves. And for the most part, that's how we actually write the episodes for Despair. In the past, I'd upload them to Google Docs, then my friend Sam would go through it and find some of the things that didn't make sense to her, and then I would read through it again, and then I'd make those changes. And then I would read it out loud, making the audiobook, and I would still find those issues I talked about earlier. So there you have it. Those are 5 things that I use to help me edit my books without having any cash available. Now, when you think about it, what exactly are you paying an editor for your manuscript? Who's to say that you couldn't do those things yourselves by taking your time and using some of the tools that are available online? Now, if I had the money, would I hire an editor? Absolutely. First of all, it helped me save a lot of time. About the cheapest editors I've come across so far wanted about $4,000 for the average length of my books. And that is just a bit out of my price range, at least for now. But also keep in mind that no human or bot is going to be 100% accurate. Even professional editors will mess up occasionally. I know one person who used the Vanity Press and actually paid for editing services, and they essentially butchered her book. And some of these things were like way, way wrong. So what kind of plans do you have in place to edit your book? Now, what I listed today are 5 things I do for every single book. That's why it takes so long to publish a lot of things that I write, is because we take our time and are quite meticulous about every single aspect of it. After all, I want to produce the best thing I can, especially since I don't have the money to throw at editors or publishing services. It's always best to take your time and do it right. And if you have the money, hire somebody else to do it for you. Anywho, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. For more videos about self-publishing, blogging, freelance writing, or anything else I cover, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. I think that's going to do it for me today, and I'll see you next time.